The Grammys wanted us to be talking about Satan, and here we are. Congratulations, Grammys! But today on Something's Happening Here, we're going to have a different kind of discussion about the enemy of all things. A biblical discussion. So who is the biblical Satan? How is he different than what we saw from Sam Smith recently? All this and more today. Welcome. I'm Steve Hicks. Welcome back, friends. Happy Tuesday to you. Thank you for spending your week with us. You probably didn't wake up every day this week thinking, I want to talk about Satan today. And yet here we are, because in the world where Satan is running rampant, we have to have these discussions sometimes. Now, yesterday, if you watched the show, I promised that today we would talk about the most defeated foe of all time. Right? Satan pretends he's very powerful, but he's actually just a complete waste of time. And we will do that, but it's actually going to be a two-part revealing of that. So today and tomorrow is going to be all about Satan, the most defeated foe of all time. And so let's begin, and I want to just show you from an earthly point of view, and then we'll go to the biblical point of view. But even from an earthly point of view, look how defeated this king of all demons really is. I'm looking at an article from businessinsider.com. And the title is essentially the same as the beginning of the article, so I'll just read the article itself. Elon Musk mocked the much-talked-about performance by Sam Smith and Kim Petras at the Grammys, in which Smith dressed as the devil. So before we go on, I just want to say, Mr. Musk, we are certainly giving you a lot of free publicity on this show. Can we talk royalties here? Yeah, Elon Musk is a repeat character on Something's Happening Here. He just seems to be part of everything. Nonetheless, he mocked Sam Smith and Kim Petras, Kim, who used to have a different name when she identified as a man. So there's that also underneath all of this. But Musk, again, from the article, Musk commented on a video posted on Twitter of Smith and Kim Petras' performance of their award-winning single Unholy at the Grammys on Sunday night. And he called it End of Days Vibes. And certainly I have to agree with that. I mean, there will be perilous times in the end days, says the Bible, and we're seeing some of that. Lovers of pleasure rather than lovers of God. In any case, back to the article here. In the performance, Smith dressed like a cartoonish version of Satan, donning a top hat adorned with devil horns and a red latex outfit, while surrounded by red-robed worshippers. And then here's the summary punchline. In another tweet, Musk added, "If that's Satan, we have nothing to worry about." And certainly I agree with that. We have nothing to worry about. Even if Satan is depicted less cartoonishly and more like the Bible shows him, which we'll get to in just a moment here, we still have nothing to worry about because the devil is a defeated foe. But certainly, some dude in red pajamas with horns is nothing at all to worry about. And if the devil is anything like that, then he's just a joke. I think we're going to find that the devil actually really loves when he is depicted like that, though, for reasons we'll get to in just a moment here. Before that, though, I want to go to an article from Billboard. And Billboard is a music publication, so they're coming at this, from that point of view. But the headline is, Church of Satan says that Sam Smith and Kim Petras' Unholy performance was more meh than satanic. The sub-headline here is a magister of the church says the performance did not evoke anything particularly devilish other than some fun costumes. And I disagree with that, but we'll get there in a moment. And the first couple of paragraphs of this article say, while many on the... First of all, pay attention to the editorial choice of this language here. While many on the Christian right were left clutching their pearls following Sam Smith and Kim Petras' supposedly satanic performance at the 2023 Grammys, one organization closely familiar with the subject matter found it a bit boring. And so the editorial choices are clutching their pearls, as if anybody who doesn't want their eyeballs, traumatized with satanic imagery must be clutching their pearls as a result, right? There's no reasonable reason why someone would not want to see this. So we're all clutching our pearls. Also, it's only supposedly satanic, even though it was really directly satanic in a number of ways, right? But it's only supposedly satanic, according to Billboard. And so there you go. And the fact that it's apparently only Christians, many on the Christian right are worried about this. No normal person could possibly be upset by this. So just pointing it out there, there's always something happening underneath the actual words that are being used. And this is Billboard letting us know what side of this they really are on. Nonetheless, they're going to give us another paragraph about how the Church of Satan found this to be quite boring. In an interview with TMZ, David Harris, a magister of the Church of Satan, said he thought Smith and Petra's performance was all right and nothing particularly special. In the performance, Smith sported a red leather outfit with horns sprouting from a top hat, while Petrus danced in a cage surrounded by fire and backup dancers dressed as devils. All right, the point of this is just to show you that even from an earthly point of view, the devil is defeated. He can't impress the richest man on earth. Actually, I don't even know if Musk is the richest man on earth anymore after he spent all his money on Twitter. Maybe that's not true for him anymore. But he's certainly very, very wealthy. And Satan can't impress that guy, and he can't even impress the church that bears his name, the Church of Satan. So, how scary can he really be? Honestly. But we're going to see from the Bible that it's more than just kind of mockery of the devil. It's more than just red spandex that we can dismiss, because even biblically, the devil is a defeated foe. So let's get right to it. We're going to revisit some things that we have talked about previously on this show in different episodes, but that's the nature of the internet, right? I don't know if you saw those episodes, and I can't just expect that you did. So we're going to go through it a little bit again. In Revelation chapter 12, verse 7, tells us that war broke out in heaven. A character named Michael and his angels fought with the dragon, and the dragon is defined in verse 9 as that the great dragon, who's also the serpent of old, called the devil and Satan. So that's how we know who we're talking about here. But verse 7 says, the dragon and his angels fought back against Michael and his angels. Verse 8, but they did not prevail, nor was a place found for them in heaven any longer. When we really study into the depths of that prophecy, we come to understand that this war happened before there was life on planet Earth. So every single moment of your life, every single moment of human existence has happened in the context of the paradigm of this war in heaven. What was the nature of the war? Well, as we keep reading, we learn that because of the war, Satan lost his place in heaven. He ultimately found his way to earth, and the world is the way it is because of that. But let's learn more about this figure and why they had a fight. In the Old Testament book of Ezekiel, chapter 28, we start reading about him in verse 12. Now, you don't see the word Satan or devil at all here, but we know that it's not just a human recipient of these words of God, because in verse 13 we're told that you were in Eden, the garden of God. There was only two human beings there, Adam and Eve, and this is not referring to either one of them, because every precious stone was your covering: the sardius, topaz, diamond, beryl, onyx, jasper, sapphire, turquoise, and emerald with gold, and the workmanship of your timbrels and pipes. So he's a musician too, was prepared for you on the day that you were created. This is not talking about a human being. There's not a single human being that was created or born covered in jewels and already being a proficient musician. So it's clearly talking about the devil here. And as we keep reading our way through Ezekiel 28, we run into some descriptions that help us understand why this war happened in heaven. So meet me in verse, I think it's verse 16 or 17. Let's start in verse 17. Speaking of the devil, your heart was lifted up because of your beauty. You corrupted your wisdom for the sake of your splendor. I cast you to the ground. I laid you before kings that they might gaze at you. So that's God speaking. It says, because you looked in the mirror one too many times and liked what you saw too much. That's really what he's saying, right? Your heart was lifted up because of your beauty. He was just so beautiful, he kind of fell in love with himself. And also, you corrupted your wisdom for the sake of your splendor. So he was very, very wise, but because he was so beautiful, he gave up his wisdom and served his beauty instead. So is that not exactly what we saw at the Grammys? These two singers were completely obsessed with their own selves. So much so they augmented their bodies with prosthetics and costumes and whatnot to augment the beauty of how beautiful they really are. If you look at Sam Smith's partner, you see a picture of that person and then stop to recognize that person was born a man, you can begin to realize the extent to which these people are obsessed with their appearances and the extent to which they are willing to go to change that appearance for the sake of their splendor, just like we read about in Ezekiel 28. And so it is demonic to be self-obsessed to this degree. But of course, the devil took it a step farther. And we see in Isaiah chapter 14, also referring to the devil, that he declares of himself in verse 14, I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. And contextually, that really means the angels. I will be like the Most High. He says, I'm so awesome, I'm going to be God. I'm going to be just like God. I'm going to take over for God. And we've talked about this in the past in the context of the various theological controversies that we have, the things our churches teach, which are different from how the Bible teaches those same things. And this is why that phenomenon is true, because the devil wants to be God, but he's not a creator. So the best he can do is to counterfeit the things that are really of God. So we see a beautiful truth about God broadly, Christ specifically in the Bible. You can be sure, you can put money on it, that you will hear a counterfeit version of that truth preached from most pulpits every Sunday. That's just the way it is, right? That's the world in which we live. So there's exactly one way to know you're getting good information about God and the devil, and it is this collection of 66 books right here. That's it. The movies are going to steer you wrong. The Grammys are going to steer you wrong. Only the scriptures will point you in the right place. So I see that we're almost out of time. I will conclude in John chapter 8, wherein Jesus in verse 44, he tells us exactly how much truth comes from the devil. Jesus says, you are of your father the devil, and the desires of your father you want to do. He was a murderer from the beginning and does not stand in the truth because there is no truth in him. Not a little bit. Not even a smidgen, but none. And the verse ends by saying, when he speaks a lie, he speaks from his own resources, for he is a liar and the father of it. So it doesn't actually matter what the devil says. It doesn't matter how attractive he looks or how attractive his people make him look. None of that matters, because the Bible says every single thing that falls out of his mouth is a lie, even if it sounds true. So liars never succeed. The truth always comes out, and that is our pivot point, because tomorrow we're going to look at how he has failed in everything he's ever done from the beginning to still in the future tense. You don't want to miss it, and therefore you do want to be subscribed. Like the page on Facebook and modify your notifications. Subscribe to the channel on YouTube and click your notification bell. go to the podcast page of talkingdonkeyinternational.org and bookmark it. Hit the follow button if you're on Rumble. Thank you so much for making sure that you will still be here tomorrow, and I will see you then on Something's Happening Here. I'm Steve Hicks.